Good day everyone, so my name is Aljo Antao and I'm here to discuss the fourth function of engineering management, which is controlling. So the content of my discussion will include the setting of the introduction, the setting of performance standards, the benchmarking, sample benchmarking metrics, measuring performance, evaluating performance, means of control, general comments, control of management time, control of personnel, control of business relationships, control of projects, control of quality, and control of knowledge, and also the conclusion. So according to Richmond 2011, the function of controlling engineering management refers to the activities carried out by an engineer manager to assess and regulate work in progress, evaluate results for the purpose of securing, maintaining, the maximum productivity, also reduce and prevent unacceptable performance. So basically, it is important since if managerial control is lacking or is not present in the system or is not considered crucial, any forward-looking strategic plan becomes questionable value if its implementation is poor. Basically, without the managerial control or the adequate managerial control, the production or the result or the implementation will be poor or will become poor at the end of the day. So furthermore, without adequate control, managerial delegation is ineffective and rendering the managerial leadership is less effective. So there are 8 ways to develop a productive workforce, basically because the function of controlling also contributes to corporate renewal by pruning the dead wood if needed. So skills to recruit or the skills to recruit the best employees and keep them motivated and productive are critically important to managers. 1, we have the assessing performance. 2, the coaching. 3, dismissing an employee. 4, giving and receiving feedback. 5, hiring. 6, managing difficult interactions. And 7, managing workplace stresses. And 8, the retaining valued employees. So the assessing performance, it is basically important since the assessment would allow the manager to assess the skills or the capabilities of its workforce or the employees. Second is coaching. It is important since it will allow the manager to relay information or relay the demand of workforce or capability, or shall I say the method that has to be done in the work by an employee will be possible or will happen. So dismissing an employee, so it is important also since if an employee is no longer useful or somewhat like is not needed or necessary in the workforce, is no longer being contributory, so it has to be dismissed. So giving and receiving feedback, so this is a mutual reliance of the ideas or the feedback. So basically this will allow the workforce to be validated in many ways and terms. So 5, we have the hiring. So it is important because in order to have a workforce, hiring is necessary, and therefore there are standards that has to be set or is being set by the system in order for that hiring to be somewhat produce a productive workforce at the end of the day. 6, they have the managing difficult interactions. So basically, for a manager, for the workforce itself, for the workforce to be productive, managing difficult interactions should be done or should be executed well by the manager itself. For example, we can justify many difficult interactions during the field work at the end of the day. So managing workplace stresses, so that should be one to be considered as one of the 8 recommended ways to develop a productive workforce. So for the workforce to become productive at the end of the day, the manager has to have or practice the ability to manage workplace stresses, because basically in the workplace, stress is normal and is always present. 8, retaining valued employees. So basically, from the term itself, valued, in order to attain such productive workforce as a goal, we have to retain valued employees, which means that they have contributed a lot and they are a big factor for the workforce to become productive at the end of the day. To proceed to the content of setting performance standards. So, to set the performance standards, it is to specify criteria by which work and results are to be measured and evaluated. Setting performance standards defines the effective outcome explicitly. So it is important for both the company and its employees to distinguish between performance grades or outstanding, so better than average, average, below average, and acceptable, and to understand how performance is measured. Here, average is defined as generally expected performance level for the job at hand by persons with adequate training and dedication. Setting standards provides specific guidelines for exercising authority and making decisions. Standards represents a yardstick for measuring the performance of employees and units, such as cost centers and profit centers. So proper standards facilitate employees. So these are its crucial function or role: self-evaluation, self-control, and self-advancement. So there are standards of technical and historical market planning, safety, and equal employment opportunity. The EEO types. So technical standards specify metrics related to quality, quantity, mean time between failures or MTBF, maintenance requirements, and so on. So historical standards are based primarily on past records. Market standards are those related to competition, sales, return on investments, earning expectation by security analysts, and other factors. Basically, planning standards mostly relate to the strategic and operational needs of the company. So they address the topics such as objectives, programs, schedules, budgets, and policies. Safety standards also refers to the matrix related to safety operation of the company facilities, government programs such as U.S. Occupational Safety and Health Administration or OSHA promulgate some of these safety standards. So basically, EEO standards are specific practices related to affirmative action for the purpose of achieving fairness among the diversified workforce. So we need to understand and take note that effective standards are characterized as being company-sponsored, measurable or comparable, reasonable, and indicative to the expected work performance on an objective basis in order to promote employee growth while considering workers' human factor inputs and securing their understanding and acceptance. So basically, it is standards are there in order to assess and to shape the production or the outcome of the company, or the purpose or the goal, in order to attain the goal at the end of the day. Benchmarking is a method of defining performance standards in relation to a set of internal and external references according to Bogan and English 2014, book 2013. So there are two types of benchmarking. So we have the internal benchmarking and the external benchmarking. So internal benchmarking uses reference intent to company to set performance standards. So according here, it uses the references internally, so the internal factors to a company to set performance standards, as illustrated by the following examples. So for example, company X has achieved a productivity of $150,000 per employee in 2014 and is determined to continue improving performance on a yearly basis. The company president set a new performance standard for the year 2015 that is $165,000 per employee. So that's the development from $150,000. The performance standard was set by the president for the next year, which is 2015, to $165,000 per employee. So a performance level at 10% higher than the previous year. Internal benchmarking is convenient to apply as it offers a reasonable short-term performance assessment. However, it may create a false sense of corporate well-being. So this is the cons. As the result of performance standards in the absence of the external reference. So maybe deficient in the long run. So we have to take note for this. So that is for the company X, the 10% productivity increment may be inadequate or even outright dangerous to the long-term health of the company. If the industrial average productivity gain has been 12% in the year past, and some competitors of the company X are aiming at 15% for the incoming year. So in the external benchmarking, the difference here is that it uses the references of external to the company to set performance standards. So the internal benchmarking uses the references internally to set performance standards for the company, while the external benchmarking uses external reference to set the company to set performance standards. So these are the following illustrative examples in its application. So there are 6 examples for external benchmarking. So first we have the financial ratios. Assuming the gross margins of many service-oriented public companies are in the range of 35 to 40% for the last several years, as published regularly by Wall Street securities firms. The setting the gross margin target for a specific company at 40% level for the immediate future year is a performance standard defined by external benchmarking. Setting the gross margin at 40% is subsequently met will ensure the company will be among the best performers in its industry. So this example is from the Reist and PISA 2014. So second is we have the performance matrix. So, according here in this example, many metrics are published in business literature to evaluate performance related to production, product delivery, quality control, time, and market. So this is the main sense of the external benchmarking, because standards are set to the company based on the external factors. That is how to say or how we see the production or the output of the company in the very first place. So that is how the factors or the standards is set, or that is where the standard set is basing to. So product delivery, quality control, time to market, customer service, reliability, customer problem solving, and others. So using these known metrics as reference to set performance standards makes explicit the relative competitive position of the company. So here in the table 5.1, these are sample publication on the best practices. We have the project management, organizational development, time management, manufacturing, back office operation, teamwork, human resource management, quantitative methods, and so on and so forth. That is actually up to 40. Sample benchmarking metrics. So many set of performance metrics are available from business literature. We're going to see this to table 5.2, that which contains selected samples of metrics used in various business domains. So here we have the domains. There are 3 kinds of domains. We have the financial domains, non-financial domains, and the product-related domains. So here the matrix. So the matrix for the financial domains, we have the ROI, or the return of investments. We have the ROA, return of assets, the return of sales, debt to equity ratio, number of inventory turns each year, number of units produced per employee, number of units produced per hour, sales per employees, profit per unit production, break-even volume. And for the non-financial, we have the average number of defects detected by the customer in the first month of the ownership, and so on and so forth. Example for the benchmarking metrics. So we have here the product quality has many dimensions. Which dimensions of product quality has the most impact on the product success in the marketplace? So answer according to Cannon and Sen 2014, product quality has 8 dimensions. 1, we have the performance. We have the features, the reliability, concordance to design specification, durability, serviceability, aesthetics, and perceived quality. That is affected by brand name and company reputation. So here, which type of quality dimensions we are going to assess or evaluate it here from the example. So which of these quality dimensions affect the product success in the marketplace will depend on the type of the products involved. So this is the criteria that we need to consider. So it always depends on the products involved that we are going to consider the dimensions, the quality of dimensions that which affects the product successes. So in the marketplace, so automobiles, consumers, products, industrial gases, the office supplies, the home appliances. So for the automobiles, the dimensions that affects the products in the marketplace includes the aesthetics. So that is basically obvious, no? So many customers always look for aesthetically driven type of a product for automobiles or cars. Also includes the dimensions for perceived quality. So we have also the performance and the serviceability. So for the consumers products, that includes the dimensions for perceived quality, the performance or operational characteristics. We have the serviceability, and of course the reliability. So consumer products. So industrial gases, we have the performance, the reliability. Of course, it has to be reliable. That's the domain of the dimension that has to be considered, and the durability. No, for the office supplies, we have the performance, we have the perceived quality, and the aesthetics. So basically, it depends also to the factor of how it is going to be used and how it will benefit the customer at the end of the day. So these dimensions are affected on how the customers will look for it in the market. So these are basically the standards, and so on and so forth. So in measuring performance, it refers to the recording and reporting of work done and the outcome attained. So managers take the following steps in order to measure the performance. One, we have the collect, store, analyze, and report information systematically, compare the performance with established standards, and issue reports such as data summary, collection of results, and forecast to document findings. So mission performance also may be carried out by time study, work sampling, and performance rating, among others, according to Falcon 2013 and Akinis 2012. So for routine work such as that on factory floors, the performance of professional workers needs to be measured with respect to the contributions made toward the attainment of the company's short and long-term objectives. So all measurement must be factual and accurate in order for them to serve a valid basis for performance evaluation. So basically, the measuring of performance also is the performance evaluation. In evaluating performance, it is where the appraising of work in progress, assess the completed job, and provide feedback. No, that is how evaluation works. The following steps are usually taken to evaluate employee performance: establish limits of tolerance, note variations, deviations within the tolerance limits, and exceptions, deviation outside of the tolerance limits. When we say variations, it is a deviation within the tolerance limits, and when we say exceptions, it is a deviation outside the tolerance limits. So it provides recognition for good performance and give timely, proper credit if justifiable. So Voltaire said, appreciation is a wonderful thing. It makes what is excellent in others belong to us as well. Paying attention to deviations encourages employee self-appraisal, fosters initiative, and enhances managerial efficiency. So here we see how it is important to evaluate. No, at the end of the day, evaluation will discern if a certain system's outcome is productive, if it is satisfiable and is good to be continued, or it is less to be improved and to be developed in the long run. So means of control. So means of control, strategy of control. By way of focusing exceptions, managers may also set priorities with respect to job assignment, resource deployment, and technology applications. This is exercising control by managing resources according to Story 2014. So by the idea itself, by the concept of the means itself, so these are the ways on how controlling process or methods in the system takes place. So this includes the resources of deployment, we have the technology or the application in order for the controlling process to take place. General comments: managers must constantly define which tasks should be performed and have employees perform this task correctly. The principle of the critical few, the Pareto principle, states that as a rule, 20% of factors may affect 80% of the outcome. So we have, let's see in the figure 5.1, it states that 20% of factors may affect 80% of outcomes. So either the 20% is a good factor or a bad factor, it always will affect the 80% of the outcome. So the key is, of course, for managers to properly define this critical few, allocating resources to pursue them and achieve the desirable outcome. Control should be focused on where action takes place. So in general, self-control imposed by the workers involved is the most effective type. So therefore, managers must manage both the positive and the negative exceptions with information available and mechanism in place. The preferred type of control is flexible and coordinated. So, here we have the other type of control, which is the control of management time. So these are the following techniques that may help managers to avoid wasting time. So one, set goals for the day, the week, the month, and the year. Two, prioritize tasks to be done, beginning with the most important task. We consider task A, then doing the less important ones, the task B, and leaving the least important ones or the C task. So untouch, if time is insufficient, make sure that the tasks are relevant and add value. Preserve blocks of time to pursue task A task. So 8 tasks, these are the most important tasks. 3, plan each task beforehand and group some of them together. Then minimize interruptions by keeping the office door closed for a specific time period and ask the secretary to hold all phone calls. So basically, these are control of management time. No, these are efficient and techniques that will help the managers to avoid wasting time. Keep reports and memoranda short and to the point. Some managers in the industry have the habit of browsing over only the first page of any report when stopping the information is uninteresting, of the secondary importance, or relevant to the current needs. Table 5.3, these are the time-saving tips for the manager. No? So we have another type of control, the control of personnel. So managerial control is exercised primarily for the purpose of maximizing company productivity and minimizing potential damages arising from an ineffective use of company resources, as well as problems related to ethics, laws, safety, and health issues. For highly skilled personnel such as science, technology, engineering, and math STEM professionals, less control is more effective and acceptable. And excess control induces undesirable reactions and produces adverse effects. This is best illustrated by supervision curve displayed in figure 5.2. So here, the amount of supervision and productivity. So we can see here that the amount of supervision and productivity relationship. Less control is usually more effective and acceptable. Excess control induces undesirable reactions. So not a term, we have the term here for example in the relationship. So the more that we control someone, mayon sila nga masakal ta nila. No? So, that's one best example to illustrate na we should not really control someone to the extent nga masakal na sila. No? Okay. At the end of the day, what's important is we allow them to be motivated, we allow them to work to the extent of their capabilities and best. That is not to control them and to tie them to many standards and such. So we have to allow them to work freely to the extent of under the system or under the supervision and the sets and standards that we establish. No? So another type of control is the control of business relationships. So as industrial market becomes increasingly global, business relationships defined by whom the company knows and how well it represents an increasingly important competitive force in the marketplace. According to Hoffman et al. 2014, it is highly advisable that managers acquire habit of proactively forming, maintaining, and controlling new business relationships for the benefits of their employers and themselves. Now, contacts may be established with non-competitors at proper occasions such as professional meetings, technical conferences, seminars, and industrial exhibitions. So, the main point here is that it is important for the manager to have a control of business relationship, because at the end of the day, as a company to strive and to survive in the market or in its realm of competition, relationship to other businesses or other sectors are big factors of the development and the success and the long-term and short-term achievement of the goals and objectives of the system or the management. Another type of control is the control of projects. Managers exercise control over projects when serving as project leaders, according to Kerzner 2014. Here, tools for project control include program evaluation, or the review technique. We call it PERT. Now we have the critical path method or CPM. Charts or suitable computer or internet-based project management software. Project control focuses on the several key issues. It is indicated in table 5.4. So we have the cost control, schedule control, critical path activities, task, deviation from plan, collaboration, technical, financial, feasibility, and conflict resolution. So in the cost control, monitor actual versus projected percentage of cost and expenditures and take proper actions to minimize deviation. The schedule control, monitor the actual versus projected percentage of completion time and take the proper actions to minimize deviation. Critical path activities, these are activities without time slacks which must be managed with extra care to avoid schedule delay. Task deviation from plan, so delays arise from show equipment delivery on installation equipment, damage in transportation, construction, delay due to labor action, weather, utilities, and other causes and exchange personnel. So, muna siya. No? Collaboration, technical, financial feasibility, conflict resolution. So, control of quality. So, another type of control. No? Control of quality. To achieve success in the marketplace, company must focus on the quality of the products, service they offer. Thus, the planning and implementation of quality control programs represents a major corporate undertaking for all progressive companies. So, according to Adams 2012, the automotive industry's product quality is a well-organized competitive factor. A recent study by J.D. Power Associates in 2014 indicates that Porsche, Jaguar, Lexus, these are mga flagship na mga sakyanan sa gawas. Hyundai and even Maxus mentioned sa Philippines pero minimal lang. And Toyota are top 5 car makers with fewer problems per 100 vehicles, that industrial average of 116 problems, ahead of Chevrolet, BMW, Lincoln, Chrysler, Cadillac, and Ford. The metric of the industrial average number of problems per 100 vehicles has been decreasing steadily for some years now. Kaizen means change for the better. So, yung term Kaizen, okay, in table 5.5, natay i-consider or studying ang Kaizen steps. No? So, Kaizen means change for the better, includes a number of quality practices such as customer orientation, total quality control, robotics, quality circles, suggestion systems, quality betterment, GIT, zero defects, small group activities, productivity furtherance, and corporate labor management relationships. So Kaizen begins and ends with people. No, we have to take note of this. And involved leadership guides workers to strive for lower cost, higher quality, and faster delivery of goods and services to customers. So muna ito makita ani nga mga flagship na mga businesses, no? According here, the Kaizen begins and ends with people, no? So it always will start, no? Kay depende sa demand ug unsa ang desired sa people. So sila perminti ang mo-define at the end of the day. An involved leadership guides workers to strive for the lower cost, higher quality, and faster delivery of goods and services to customers. The elimination of non-valuable adding activities is the key emphasis in the Kaizen approach. So here in table 5.5 presents numerous sample Kaizen steps taken by various manufacturers. Many of the steps are based on common sense. There are 14 numbers. No, there are 14 sample Kaizen steps. You have the one get the most useful ideas to improve operations from the workers involved. Conduct time studies and observe the actual work activities to evaluate productivity. Use questionnaires to collect data and small group discussions to encourage worker participation. So this is important. Workers should put everything they need next to them to minimize time, no, GIT, and then production. Use a checklist that is constantly revised to inspect and study the shop for shop floor activities. So combine several process steps to lessen the efforts required saves resources. So incorporate prefabricated component modules to cut cost. Use higher and more versatile manufacturing equipment to whittle away manpower and utility cost. Use flexible welding jigs and general pallets to cut welding costs. So, muna sila mga sample pricing steps. Another case here in point is the implementation of the quality program. So, sa Ford Motors Company, credited sila for having a spearhead and well-known failure mode and defect analysis. So, we call that FEAM method in US automotive industry around 1977. So, that's according to the intel coming from Carlon 2012. So, FMEA or failure mode and effect analysis may be applied to design, process, service, and other engineering or business activities that may go wrong. No, so these are important. No, method. So, Murphy's law says that if something can go wrong, it will. No, kung naging mali jud. So, FMEA is a proactive program intended to catch all possible failure modes before they actually occur. So, mura siya somewhat, kanina program mura siya somewhat prediction. No, gina-avoid ang occurrence sa failure. No, but it is solidly based on understanding that the correction of potential failures before they can actually occur will be much less costly than the required remedial actions after the fact. Kaning FMEA, ang basic concept niya is prevention is better than cure. So, gina-predict nila ang possible nga error nga mo-occur in the long run, and then they will do the method will do itself to prevent the error to occur. So, basically, the FEMEA concept is rather straightforward. So, in table 5.6, this is the FMEA worksheet. So, it includes the headings of for a given step number, the process description, no, we have the potential failure mode, we have the potential effects of nature, the severity, potential causes of failure, the occurrence, no, the current process control and detection, risk, response number, RPN, recommended actions, responsibility and target completion date, actions taken, new severity, new occurrence, and new detection. So, muna siya, no, muna siya ang FMEA worksheet. So, for a given stop number, the process description, potential failure mode, and potential effects of the failure in question are to be entered. Then, the severity factors in row E is assessed using a number between 1 and 10 being the most severe. Then, regarding the impact of the customers, row F registers the potential root cause for the failure. Row G defines probability of its occurrence, again using a number between 1 and 10, with 10 being the most likely to occur. Row H specifies the current control and detection practices. Detection factors. So, row I is assigned a value between 1 and 10, and with 10 being the most difficult to detect. TQM also a very powerful program in addressing the issue related to product quality and organizational productivity. ASQ Quality Press, according to ASQ Quality Press 2013. In a typical academic course at the graduate level, TQM also covers the concepts of the customer satisfaction, empowerment of the employees in problem solving, continuous improvement, and management excellence by creating and implementing corporate visions. To achieve TQM, management must be committed, and worker dedication are also required. No, so system in TQM system kaning program in addressing the issues related to product quality and organizational productivity, it always includes the attention and it always includes the management or the manager, no? The manager and the workers' dedication. We have the management commitment and the workers' dedication. That will always work on at the same time. No? Without the management commitment, without the worker dedication, without them being required, so mutually dapat na sila ang present. Mahitabo nga ang TQM ay mong success. So quality control is an important function. We need to take note of that because managers play a key role, no? Along with the workers. They need to be actively and persistently involved with workers to apply common sense in eliminating waste, speeding delivery, simplifying processes, paying attention to the gritty details of practice, and continuously improving the way the work gets done. So that's how the interaction, the crucial role of the management or the manager and its relationship and interaction towards the workers. So that will always work at the end of the day. So the control of knowledge. Another set of control is we have the control of knowledge. So when we say knowledge, it refers to the sum of total corporate intellectual property, which is composed of patents, proprietary know-how, technical expertise, design procedures, empirical problem-solving, heuristics, process operational insights, and others. So this is from North and Kumta 2014 and Leonard et al. 2014. So some of these knowledge chunks are documentable while others typically reside in the employees' heads. And managers are generally responsible for developing, preserving, safeguarding, and applying the corporate engineering technology knowledge. So they are also needed to develop policies and facilities to control of such knowledge. Some examples of knowledge management strategies are listed in 5.8. So why is it important that knowledge is being controlled? No, because knowledge, one of the basis of production, the basis of the company, the basis of the management, the basis of what is the objective and what is the purpose, the goals and objective and the purpose will always ground on the knowledge. No, without the knowledge, things can't be done. Without the knowledge, the objective, the goals, and the perspectives will neither be established. No, so in the knowledge management we have one. So the experimentation, put systems and processes in place to facilitate the search for the testing of new knowledge. No, experimentation is very good in finding out the potential. No, pulling out the potential. No, to test of the new knowledge that has been discovered in order for it to become useful for the company and for the system at the end of the day. We have benchmarking. So from the top topic, from our top discussion, or latter discussion, benchmarking, learn from one's own experience and best practices of others in industry by reflection and analysis. We have preserved knowledge. No, this is the third type of knowledge management. Now, set policies concerning the preparation of reports, design procedures, and database. Apply knowledge acquisition tools to preserve valuable heuristic knowledge. So the dissemination of knowledge, of course, this is one of the least of the steps. No, the last of the steps. So it rotates experts to different locations or jobs so that knowledge may be shared with and learned by others. So make knowledge or data available electronically company-wide. Here. So knowledge control is particularly important from the viewpoint of countering industrial espionage, especially policies regulating employee contact with competitors at neutral sites, such as professional meetings, university environments, and industrial seminars. So these are needed to be defined to safeguard company knowledge. So according here, preserve or acquired knowledge adds little value to the company if there is no resulting refinement or improvement in the way the work gets done. So managers also needs to focus on effectively transferring the knowledge gained to achieve the modification of the company's behavior that uses the new knowledge and insights. No, so doing so will make the company a true learning organization that is steadily enriches itself. Here. So in conclusion, control is another important function of engineering management, which focuses mostly on administrative and operational nature or aspects of the work. So control is very essential to the extent of implementation of any project or program activities by specifying performance metrics, monitoring progress for initiating corrective steps, and ensuring the attainment of useful outcomes. No, so in the system, for example, in a company, the main objective, the very finishing objective or goal is to have a desirable and useful outcome. No, particular attention should be paid to external benchmarking when setting standards in order to avoid causing a company to lose its long-term competitive strengths. Delegation without proper control will likely result in wasting the company's resources. Control is routinely applied to team members, knowledge, business relationships, and the allocation of resources, as they all contribute directly to specific project objectives at hand. So care must be taken in dealing with professionals who generally prefer to be guided by specific objectives and then empowered to select the right course of action to achieve the project objective within the given time and budget constraints. So nani proper right course of action, no? Dili siya kanang rush. So dapat it should be decided perfectly decided in the right way, no? Right course of action. May problem, may conflict, it has to be deal with the right course of action. Dili rush, dapat gipag-isipan, dapat ginahuna og tarong. So on the one hand, tight and rigid control discourages employees' initiative. Now we have to remember from the latter discussion, we have the standards, no, the performance standards. Now we have the control. But however, too much control is not good because it will cause the employers to be less motivated, no, ma-discourage, no. So tight and rigid. So tight and we need to discourage the tight and rigid type of control, no, kaya maka-discourage sa employees' initiative. On the other hand, too loose of control could lead to the project objective being missed. So mo siya dapat tamang timpla, kita wala tamang timpla, sakto lang, dili kayo rigid and tight, then dili po dapat luag, no, dapat nasasakto nga nasasakto siya nga tumong. Exercise the right level of control is of critical importance, dependent on the people, the nature of the project, its urgency and impact, and the risk intake. So that ends our discussion for today, and thank you for listening. I hope na mo nakuha. Thank you.